Hey, good evening. This is what I'm going to be talking about is Google and the Industrial Arts Classroom. This is a presentation that I did to other industrial arts teachers here in the state earlier this year in May, where I came through and talked a little bit about how I use Google in different aspects in my room as industrial arts world. It's very hard to get people to change sometimes in this, and they're just getting some information out there. So I've condensed it from an hour down to about 10 to 15 minutes for your viewing pleasure. So the first thing I asked is a question: Is my old school went 1-to-1, so every student in our 9 through 12 grades had their own Chromebook. So I'm always wondering if people have or are going to looking at with the new technology of going to 1-to-1, whether it be iPads, Chromebooks, or regular laptops, if you're using that in your own world, especially in industrial arts, I mean, there's a lot of dust, things like that happens. This is a nice way of going paperless as well, to setting up Google Classroom and things like that, which we will cover in this section as well. See, mine did this about 2 years ago. We started this, and I had to kind of learn on the fly to adapt to go paperless to save not only the school money, but myself some time and hassle of having all this stuff, and then noticing that in my room I'd have plans or layouts and all that, syllabus, safety rules, all this stuff just laying around. I help, it helps clean up the clutter in the room, and in a world that you make a lot of scrap, a lot of dust. Keeping the clutter gone and cleaned up is always a great thing. So what we're going to start with is we're going to talk a little bit about tools. Some of the tools that I've used to do this. Well, I've used Google Classroom and multiple other things, uh, Google Forms, Google Sheets, Flubaroo, things like that that I've used in my actual classes to help me go not only paperless but also help students with ease of access as well. The first thing we're going to talk about is Google Classroom. This is a very, very, very good setup where you can look at this and have it set up to where, and I have a link to the classroom that I used here if you'll open up. You can actually go ahead and look at this, and you'll see there's many different aspects to it. I'll pull up one of my other classes here too. This is where I'll be sending out my exam with next week. What you do is you set up a classroom up here in the very top. You go to the right hand side, and it'll say classes. You start on there. You hit the plus button. You start your class. These are some ones that I'm in or have made. So then you can go through. We'll take a look at my first hour here, Woodshop. You go through, and what I will do on Monday is I will go through, and I can give them this class code at the very bottom. These are case-sensitive class codes. You go through and give them the class code to add students immediately into the class. Here, what you can see is if I'll open up classwork. This is what the students won't see. This is what you see as a teacher. You can also look at the student side. I have my final exam set up for. It's scheduled for 7:30 on Tuesday, December 18th, and if I have students gone, they have up until the 21st of December, which is next week Friday at noon, to complete it. I'll show you on my exam consisted of and how it works. But this is how you go ahead and you get those things kind of cleaned up a little bit, looks a little bit nicer. And you have multiple classes. You can schedule things. You can do that. You can do, even with these, there's little assignments that you can do. So there's all these little assignments, classwork. You can create classwork. We'll go back to this class. A quiz, assignment. The quiz assignment, you can go through and create like an exit ticket every day that's due that day. Or you can propose on here a topic and have, similar to what we use on our Moodle, a discussion board and go through and discuss everything that's happening on that topic. So it's a really nice small area to keep everything together. And the kids are in multiple classes. What it'll do is it'll keep them, if they're enrolled in it, a to-do list. Hey, you have this due. You have this coming up that's due. You have this coming up as well. and is on their calendar as well. Um, so this is a nice thing to do here. To use, if you guys have a class code, you can add students to your classes. The nice thing about that is it adds only students into your classes that you want. So if you're only going to do it in 1 or 2 classes, you have to only set it up for those 2 or 3 classes, and only those students are allowed, unless the students share the code, which that doesn't happen. Again, we've looked at that. A great way to organize your classes, looking at how things are going in a way. You can have kids turn in assignments right in the Google Classroom as well, and it drops into a Google Sheet. We went through this already as well. This is my most favorite thing from Google, Google Forms. I'll actually show you mine here in a second. I've used this for assessments and surveys. Survey in one of our classes here with Cornerstone, going in my master's degree, I went through and I surveyed all my fellow colleagues at Western Michigan Christian, where I was at the time, their thoughts on a certain topic. I used it for my paper in Issues in Education, wrote my paper. It's a great way of organizing things as well. Here's a form. This is actually one of my exams that you'll be able to take a look at. So here's what it is. Boom. Woodshop exam. You can go through. They answer the questions. Everything is required, all the questions. So they go through. You're going to look at all these, go through, and biggest thing that I will tell you right now is make sure you have a place on here somewhere for them to write their name. The nice thing about these is you can do forms in 2 ways. You can either drop the answers in to a Google Sheet, which will be the next thing that we talk about, or you go ahead and you drop those, and you can make an answer key right here on Google Form. The only thing I don't like about the answer key with Google Form is it's hard to tell what questions are bad and what questions are good, and what questions are scoring low on as well. So there's a couple things you can look at. We'll talk about Google Sheets here in a second. You'll understand what that is. This is nice because you can have it change the order of every question. So you can have 2 kids sitting right next to each other taking this exam. One kid may have this question, what machine is this, as their first one, or one may have a total different question as their first question. You still will get the same number of questions. They go through and they just get jumbled up and changed around. That way it's a little bit easier, less cheating options as well. Like I said, I use this for a lot of my assessments. My old school, I did a general safety test on this, and I also did my final exam and surveys as well for my woodshop classes. To me, it works great because it's an easier way, quicker way of getting that quick assessment if you need to. You can use it as an exit ticket. I've done this before as well, just to kind of see, hey, what did you think of this class today, or what did you learn in this class today? That way, it's fresh in their mind. And Forms actually has one that's called exit ticket as well. So Google knows this, that you're educators, things like that, and they'll say, hey, this is your an option for you to use all these on. All right. So my other favorite that I use with sheets and forms, I think they go hand in hand. So there's add-ons. We'll go over that here. I'll show you what these look like. I took my I'm giving my final exam this week in my woodshop classes. Oops. Wrong account. Hold on one second here. There we go. So you'll be able to see the Google answers. So what it does is I've told my form right here to take all the answers and drop it into a sheet. Okay, I have a copy of this. I didn't want to have you see my real one, but it goes through and it drops all the answers right here in all of the responses. So what you can do is it's called add-ons, and we'll talk about this here in a second with Flubaroo. And I'll show you this here. Flubaroo, you have to get add-ons. You can go through, get them, manage them. This essentially, Google Sheets essentially works like Microsoft Excel. You go through and look at everything that you have available to you, and Google has a great thing online with them for Google Classroom. There's articles, there's ways of learning step by steps how to use it. Same thing with Google Forms. Same thing with Google Sheets. There's ways of using it step by step all the way through. So those are 3 good things right there. Just Google search. Easy ways of using Google Forms, easy ways of using Google Classroom, or use Google or Sheets as well. So this essentially works, like I said, like your Microsoft Excel. If you know Excel, you can pretty much use Sheets as well. Add-ons are the only thing that's a little bit different, and we'll talk about those here in a second. Talk a little bit about Flubaroo. We'll go more in depth here in a sec, and you understand how that works as well. Flubaroo. This is a very, very, very great add-on to your Google Sheet. A friend of mine, her name is Liz Nineheist, she taught me this and told me all about this a few years ago on how to add this onto my Google Sheets and use it. This is such an easy way of grading. So, like we talked about it, I did this before, and I have it added on there. So if you noticed, when you saw the Google Sheet on there, it had one already filled in that said answer key. You go through, you take the form, if you're going to have everything drop into an answer key into Google Sheet and use Flubaroo, you go back through, either email it to yourself or a different account that you have for Google, and you go through and you fill it out and you answer all the questions as the answer key itself. Then you go through and say, that's my answer key. So then you go, and after all your students take that exam, you can see when the last person's done. You go through, you click on Flubaroo on that sheet. It'll say grade assignment. It'll ask you, what do you want to use as your answer key? What are we scoring here? So if you have one that says name, if you have one that says email, that just says identify student, and then everything else will give you a point value. You can change your point values as well. So if you have one that you like, a long short answer or a short answer on your form, you can actually have it graded more over multiple choice. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. This is my contact information. I'm more than willing to help you and discuss this with you over email, phone calls, all that stuff. I like using it. This is something that I've learned over the past couple of years and gotten very, very good with. And I hope that you will be able to use it yourself. And thanks for listening to my little spiel. And have a wonderful afternoon.